Apparently, I'm the man of your dreams, I imagined him saying. I ascribed to him the exact same voice that I had become so accustomed to over the last 3 sleepless months, and knew he would prove me right if and when he decided to speak. Again, I took in his strangely golden skin tone. It was warm looking, like a post-holiday glow, shimmering like bronzer. He was about the same height as Jack, a foot taller than me, but he seemed bigger, somehow, more magnificent. Maybe it was this presence. It commanded respect, no reference. He was wearing dark blue jeans, the color of midnight, and a thin medium gray long-sleeved shirt pulled up loosely until his elbows. It was the same color as the dark side of the moon, and it fit him perfectly. Not too loose, not too snug, faintly hinting at the sculpted body underneath, but never giving too much away. It left room for imagination. On anyone else, it would have looked average, but on him, the combination looked like something out of an Armani Exchange display window. The dark clothes made his hair look even more like golden syrup, while his skin shimmered softly like the Milky Way in comparison. He was absolutely stunning. And barefoot? Yes, he was barefoot, actually untouched by the cold. Even the guys were messing about in their track pants and hoodies, but this one appeared to bathe in his own personal warmth. I noticed that when he breathed, no mist came out of it. How unusual. You're beautiful. I was saying it in my head the entire time we locked eyes. I was allowed to tell the truth, though I would never have dared to say it out loud. Ha! Well, that's one you've never used before. I assumed the banter would continue as it did so in my dreams. True enough, his eyebrow cropped up as if he had heard me, amused. What are you doing here? I told you, I've fallen for you. This time, even I had to actually laugh out loud at the ridiculousness of my own vivid imagination. The sound rang clean and clear above the excited rustle of leaves around us. No matter what I was feeling, I was still very much aware of what was going on. It was like there were two halves of me, the apparently drunken one having conversations with a stranger in her head, and a sober one watching all this take place. At least his face broke into a smile, warm, friendly, familiar. All of a sudden, and much too soon, our silent communion was broken by the sound of rushing footsteps swiftly padding on the grass. Before I could say anything further, be it out loud or in my head, Jack reached the stone circle, taking his place protectively by my side. I suddenly felt rather annoyed by his presence, but as soon as I did, I felt utterly guilty and protective over him. I knew how this must have looked. One minute I was bursting for the loo, and the next I was standing here, laughing to myself, in the company of a beautiful stranger. Still, the annoyance lingered, small but burning, underneath my skin. How strange. All I heard was a low, seething growl. Even weirder. Dare I say, but are you jealous? This time I didn't hear him, but I could feel his eyes glaring at me. No, at Jack, for it was impossible for him to look at me that way. Jack didn't like that at all. I could have sworn the night quickly got a lot hotter. I was suddenly sweating underneath my hoodie. Jack took a step forward, his arm folding me back as if I would run. Which way he thought I would run, I wasn't sure. I wasn't quite sure I knew myself. Maya, do you know this guy? Jack's tone is firm but wary, not at all the tone he normally used with me. Yes, I answered instinctively before realizing my error. I mean, no. The boy just kept staring at me intently, though I knew he was watching Jack out of the corners of his midnight blue eyes. Eagle eyes, predaceous eyes. Something twists deep inside me. I'm suddenly uneasy. My hormones, my emotions were spinning wildly like a compass in complete and utter disarray. I could imagine the question now. Describe one instance that would make a compass spin wildly. Bonus points. Compass needle is a magnet, so run a current through it. An electric current, a spark, lots of sparks, from all different directions. Without thinking, I find myself stepping out of Jack's shadow and into the clearing. Again, I felt that strange compulsion to do so, like a pull I could not control. It was unexplainable. To my surprise, Sebastian, he looked like a Sebastian, took a step forward, and at just the right moment I felt the pull slacken in my chest. Relief echoed on both our faces. He never took his eyes off me. Jack, on the other hand, was clearly unnerved by the situation. He didn't know what to make of it. I could feel his back stiffen and his hairs bristle. His natural instinct was to protect me, to protect us. Look, man, I don't know who you are or what you are doing here, but I would really appreciate it if you left us in peace. Jack's voice was measured and controlled. I could tell he was really trying. He was trying really hard to restrain himself in front of me. I had never seen him like this before, so vulnerable, off guard, unsure of himself. I didn't understand what he could possibly be worrying about. Sebastian stood his guard. Come with me, I imagined him saying. It was almost pleading. I was truly intrigued as to what would happen if I did. He took another step forward. Again, a weight lifted off my chest. More relief, a sudden rush of air. It went straight to my head. I wanted more. For the last time, back off! I could see the others now in the distance, staring at us, wondering what on earth was going on. Some of the guys were starting to make their way over. Sebastian seemed to notice this too. Why'd you have to make a scene, Sebastian? Oh, is that what I'm called now? Yes, it suits you. But I don't think the bloodshed will if you hang around any longer. And just then, as if right on cue, Sammy, Phil, and DJ show up, positioning themselves on either side of us. The odds were 5-1. This was so unnecessary, and yet somehow I wasn't fearful for him, my fallen angel, for that is what he looked like, standing there in the middle of his stone-pillared hollow. For the first time, Sebastian took his eyes off me and quickly scanned the faces of my entourage, my protectors. His gaze, particularly long, his gaze lingered particularly long on Jack, studying him. Subconsciously, I slipped my hand into the familiar coarseness of his grip. I squeezed it gently to let him know I was on his side. I was on his side, wasn't I? Suddenly, Sebastian's fists clenched. He looked at us, the two of us together as a whole, and a poisonous concoction of agony and despair seemed to overwhelm him. No, it tormented him from the inside out. I could have sworn I heard it echo in my head. His unexplained fury seemed to radiate off him like a charge. It made the crisp air crisper, more cutting. And just when the tension was most unbearable, just when I thought I might explode, he turned on his heels and made as if to disappear. Every step away from me seemed heavy, a physical and emotional burden I've ever knew I had to carry, until now. Don't leave! I don't even know who you are. And just then, as if I had said the thoughts out loud, he was stood right before me. The movement was so quick it took the guys off guard, but they stood their line, albeit a few inches in retreat. His look is so piercing. I feel like hot molten is burning in my heart and stomach. His smile, sincerely all anger, disappearing from his face. Relief seems to wash over him again as he lets his guard down before me. His ankles heel the golden hair of Samson. He seemed genuinely pleased to see me, like he had been waiting for me all this time. He studies my eyes a little bit longer. I felt like he was looking straight into my soul. And then it happened. A wave of relief hits me unlike anything else before. A shock of electricity down my spine, a cold, tingly feeling against my cheek, underneath the hand caressing my face. I swore the microscopic baby hairs on my face were standing up on end, like static. He leans in and in the most bewitching voice whispers, "You'll thank me for this." His lips graze my cheek where the vibrations from his voice linger. I melted a little, but more inside, and then he was gone. When Sebastian leaned into my ear, I felt Jack about to lunge at him with full force. He was stood right next to me, so the blow would have sent Sebastian crashing against one of the stone pillars. But the pressure of my hand squeezing his must have kept him in his place. In reality, it was a subconscious reaction to the dizziness I was feeling inside. I felt like my whole world was spinning. Did you see what he was wearing? He looked like a runway model. Haven't seen one of those here in a while. And his feet, he wasn't wearing any shoes. It must have been about 10 degrees right now. When we got back to the picnic, the girls were around us like a swarm of hungry bees, gossip-hungry bees, and I was the queen, a very frazzled queen. Who was that? Who is he? Do you know him? Is he from around here? Where did he go? What happened? Did Jack... It was all just a blur, I answered coherently enough. I think, but I wasn't really there. My head was in a low-hung blanket of grey clouds threatening rain. I couldn't get over it. He smelled of evergreen.